first red carpet.
Oh, I can't believe they flew you all the way out here for this.
Hey. Nice to meet you. I'm Chase Dream's manager.
Yeah, no, we met last week. We had a full meal together.
Oh, gay brother and girl sister, right? Oh, you guys aren't getting married, are you? Because that would be bad optics for this guy right here. Although love is love is love is love, as Linda Manuel once said.
It's Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Who's Linda Manuel then? And why do I represent her?
TBTL. She's buying, right? Because I will be ordering a bowl of soup as an appetizer, not a cup. Chuck, I know people say I'll fill up, but you have no idea how my body processes soup.
I love pickles. It's my heritage. I love a pickle.
It's embarrassing and it's gross, but at least it's kind of funny.
There you have it. A practical example of modern communication.
How'd it go?
Well, he's gonna acknowledge me on Instagram, so I guess you could say it was one of the best conversations of my entire life.
You know, it's just living truthfully in imaginary circumstances.
So if you're out there, come find me.
All right, hello, good morning, and welcome everyone to a Thursday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
Isn't that for techno geeks with spreadsheet?
My name's Luke Burbank. I'm your host.
They just want you to be normal, and clearly you're not.
Coming to you from the Madrona Hills studio, perched high above the mighty and frigid Columbia. It's a cold day here in southern Washington. I can look across the Columbia River over to Oregon, and I can see that there is snow up on the hills. All the places that they just deforested are now covered in snow.
Snow, and more snow, and you've got a really nasty mixture.
It's episode 4667 in a collector series.
Let the fun begin.
And speaking of the natural world and the mighty Columbia, yesterday I interrupted the show, rudely, some would say. Unprofessionally, others have said, although I've blocked them on the various platforms. Because out there in the mighty Columbia, there was something going on that I had never seen before, which was, first I just thought there was some kind of odd wave pattern, like the wind was hitting the water in an odd way, but it was inexplicable, and so I broke out the binoculars. I interrupted the dazzling donor messages to break out the binoculars and look out onto the river, and what I thought I saw was a pod of black dolphins swimming around, chasing fish. And,
Louis, what is that? I'm like, I don't know. What is it?
The internet didn't seem to give me any reason to believe that what I was seeing was actually the case. Anyway, I've been reaching out to some well-placed people here in southern Washington. We've got some clarity on what we think was happening yesterday. Also, last night I watched that French movie that Andrew recommended called Happiness, and I got thoughts on it, so we'll talk about that. Oh, and let's see. You know what? I was about to promote another story, but my friends, here 4,667 episodes in, I'm finally learning that if in my mind I already know we're not going to get to the story, there's no reason to dangle it in front of all of your ears and then not get to it. So let's focus on something that we will get to, and that is the Blur's Days, because it's a Thursday. We'll definitely get to those, and we'll definitely get to this guy, longest-running Cobra of the show.
Oh, my God. He admitted it.
Maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships. He's Andrew Walsh, and he's joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Luke. Do you think that the Seahawks will end up going to the White House?
Well, then you better come up with tomorrow's show sheet, brother. You get to find a story for tomorrow. That's your job now.
Do the listeners know why I am laughing so hard at my little spoofy spoof there?
Hold on. You know what? I need to just chill out, Mon. Okay, I'm better.
All right, good. I killed the
your
music.
Funny spoof.
No. That's the story that you skipped on the show sheet. So
well,
I wanted to.
I had already
we don't
promoted
have to do
so
it.
much stuff. Nah, no. I mean, whatever. Let's just do it. Let's just do it right now. Let's do it right now, Andrew. This is like me making you smoke the entire pack of cigarettes.
No, we'll do. Oh God, that sounds great.
Yeah, we'll smoke the entire story right now, buddy.
I actually do want to say I'm not 100% sure of your framing of it, to be honest with you. So both I'm forcing the issue and I'm attacking you right at the top of the show, just like hot talk radio. But I will say that the reason I found some interest in this story was I saw a post from somebody that I follow and generally like and trust on Blue Sky yesterday, and it was like a screen cap that looked kind of like an official like news breaking screen cap of some sort, but like something you might see on Instagram or something, like a tile that somebody made with some text that looked professional enough, that said Seahawks refuse invitation to White House. And then I saw that passed around, and then I was like, oh, this is great. And I even liked it. And then I was like, wait a second, where's the story though? And then as soon as and this all happened within 30 seconds of me eating soup. And it was like, no, this has not been verified.
I have no idea how your body processes soup, Andrew. and honestly, I don't want to know.
But I really did think it was an interesting example of people seeing
of your media
something
illiteracy.
No, like I saw.
You liked it. It was a pretend story. That was a 5% media illiterate of you.
Well,
right?
yes, but I unliked it within 30 seconds.
Oh, you unliked it too. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm sitting
I didn't know about the unliking it part.
Well, I did mention that.
You got me on my heels. You really
I gotta
came at me this morning.
I got to be able to finish this. I'm sitting there. I'm reading my Blue Sky. I see the post. I'm like, oh, that's great. I hit like. But then I'm like, where's this story from? What are the details? I immediately Google it. Google says, no invitation has been sent. This all started with some person who just stated it on Instagram or Blue Sky, and then it became a story. People started making badges of the story and passing it around. So I immediately unliked it, and then liked somebody who said we should fact check this first. And so I'd been sort of following it. I'm like, where's this story from? And it seems to be the original story of like the Seahawks actually turning down an invitation. It seems to have just been made up. They tracked it back to one guy who just said it, and a whole bunch of people wanted to hear that news and just ran with it.
Yeah, the Seattle Times has been trying to get a comment from the White House, apparently. By the way, I'm learning that the Seattle Times still has a D.C. correspondent, or maybe recently hired one, Anamita Kaur, writing in your Seattle Times, Andrew, that basically the headline is Seahawks haven't received a White House invitation, which is different, of course, than Seahawks turned down White House invitation. And the Times reporter has been trying to get a response from the White House. The White House will not respond to this. So, I mean, here's what I think is really going on. I think that the White House, they also, by the way, like the president apparently rescinded an invite to the Eagles back in 2018. So we're going way back now, first term, after their Super Bowl win, because members of the team, some members had announced they would skip the visit. And so then extremely secure, extremely mature person, current president Donald J. Trump, then just said, well, then you're not invited.
Right.
Because some of you don't want to come here. So then fine, you're not even invited. And apparently it's created now this. I sort of have really actually stopped tracking this because of the fact that I haven't had a team, that's won the championship in a while, the team that I follow closely, like the Seahawks. So I haven't been clocking how many teams end up going to the White House now when they win. Of course, it was a long-running tradition, regardless of the particular party of the person in office. It was just kind of a thing. It was just kind of one of those ceremonial, perfunctory kind of things. And, of course, nothing is like that anymore. So my sense is that the White House is not going to invite the Seahawks because the president is worried that some of the Seahawks will decide not to go, and his fragile ego will not be able to handle that, is where I think we're at with this. But all of this is a giant relief to me, honestly, because if the White House were to invite them and then some of them were to go, then I would have to have feelings about the some of them that went, which I don't want to have.
Yeah, now, I'm with you that I'm guessing that the White House or Trump will see the writing on the wall and probably assume that the Seahawks don't want to come, but you mentioned the 2018 Eagles not going to the White House, but the 2025 Eagles did go to the White House, and I'm pretty sure almost everybody showed up for that. So I don't kind of know what.
Weird.
Yeah, so I think my guess is whoever is making this decision from the White House's perspective is trying to get a beat on whether or not people will show up, because obviously, and I'll never stop, highlighting this, that the Dodgers went there happily and celebrated with him. Now
I'm trying to remember, are you pro or anti-Dodgers?
You know what? It's complicated. Because it's like there's an amount of dislike and then there's an amount of hate, and it's kind of hard to say where. But anyway, so my hope is that the invitation never comes I mean, my hope would be that the invitation comes and all of the Seahawks are just like, no way, bro. That would be awesome. But my guess is, I'm guessing with you that the invitation will never come, but I guess we just don't know yet.
It's interesting, too, which sport, and this is where I'm going to get into some absolutely gross, and I mean emphasis on the gross generalizations, Andrew. But they're also based on some amount of time being, for me, spending around pro athletes of all three sports. In which team sport would you think there would be the greatest likelihood that the team might say, no thanks? Would it be baseball, basketball, or football? I can tell you right now, it's not baseball. It's baseball are the dumbest athletes, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I would say football players are the smartest athletes because the complexity of the game is wild. But basketball has long been considered, I guess, the most quote-unquote woke, and even the NBA is a little bit less punishingly sort of controlling around what its athletes do. So I feel like I'm obviously equating intelligence with not wanting to go to the White House, for the record.
Yes.
But I just think football players, this idea that football players are lunkheads is so wildly off if you've spent 1 second trying to understand an NFL play.
Yeah, right.
I think it's harder than writing an economics paper or something. So I guess I would say maybe basketball play, an NBA team, just because it's a little bit more. It's a league where players did kneel and did not face consequences, during the day and stuff like that. Whereas if obviously the NFL came down on Kaepernick, again, what I can say is it ain't baseball. It ain't baseball.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The Mariners, that was a real concern for me because the Mariners,
real concern going into this season, brother.
Yeah,
because I wouldn't be shocked if we got to the World Series.
Yeah, we'll see. So anyway, well, I got to do my story. Now, what's going on with when you kind of played that drop about that's a tuna, bro? It never occurred to me how your life or the life of the show has bent around that piece of tape that we love from 10 years ago of
unpack that, sir.
Two men trying to figure out what kind of a fish or megafauna they're seeing in the water.
I believe it was a sunfish.
That ended up being a sunfish. But here we are. You're having your own that's a tuna, bro moment with the life in the river below you.
And I know that this is, even by my standards, truly terrible podcasting, because it's like what happened was I observed something visually yesterday that is pretty much only interesting to me. It's nothing that the listeners could see. But it was, to me, I don't want to say profound, but it was incredible. I sit here, anytime I'm doing the show from home, I'm sitting here, Andrew, I'm talking to you, and I'm staring at this river for hours on end throughout all of the seasons. I'm very kind of tuned into what tends to go on and doesn't go on. And so when I saw all of the first thing that my eyes were alerted to was this, again, a bunch of white caps, right? But it wasn't windy enough for white caps. So I was trying to figure out what is creating all those white caps kind of out in the middle of the river. That's when I broke out the binoculars, and that's when I saw these porpoise or dolphin-like things swimming in 3 different pods. And I could tell that they had that kind of classic fin. And you've seen that, Andrew, when you and V's have been out, maybe in Hawaii whale watching or something, or just anywhere out in the ocean, particularly a little bit of a warmer place. You tend to see, again, maybe not full-on dolphins, but porpoises and things like that are fairly common.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And we all kind of know what that looks like, how they kind of, they sort of come out of the water just a little bit. You just see their back and then their fin, and then they go back in. And there's a group of them. So that's what I was looking at. And so I was very excited by that because I've never seen it before, and I thought that they were probably chasing fish. And then but while we were talking, I continued to kind of Google what did I see, and there was no support for there being any dolphins this far down the Columbia, and also even porpoises. They supposedly don't really come down this far, generally speaking. Well, I was so amped when I got off the air with this. I was still searching around, and I was telling my friend Spring, who lives out in this way. I was like, you will not believe what I saw in the Columbia. And she was like, do you think it was a seal? And I was like, I know what a seal looks like. It's definitely not a seal. And then she sent me a news story about someone mistaking a seal for a dolphin. And I was like, unless these seals learned how to swim in tight formation, in different pods and learned how to somehow grow a fin on their back. I promise these were not harbor seals. And so she reached out to a friend who works on the river and said, oh, no, those are definitely harbor porpoises basically, they mostly hang out at the mouth of the Columbia River where it meets the Pacific Ocean. So that'd be out near Astoria, near, I think it's Cape Disappointment, which is this crazy, it's where the Coast Guard, the most elite Coast Guard rescue teams train for doing super dangerous, scary kind of open water, stormy rescues because of the way that the Pacific Ocean and the Columbia meet, it creates this incredibly chaotic environment. So anyway, the harbor porpoises were chasing smelt because it's smelt season. I don't know who dealt it, Andrew, but I know that they smelt it because and there are tons of smelt, and they will sometimes come down this far if there are a lot of smelt. And that's exactly what was happening yesterday. So again, nobody except me cares about this, but I have some confirmation, or at least some informed speculation that I did see harbor porpoises. They were all the way down here from Astoria. They were chasing smelt. And I was very excited about that.
Yeah, the fact that you described them as black dolphins as well was confusing because I don't know. I mean, that could exist, but I was looking it up, and it looks like there's something called black dolphins in a very different part of the world. You must have stumbled on that as well.
They're generally gray in my experience of seeing. I don't even, to be honest with you, I don't know if I've ever seen real dolphins. I've seen tons of porpoises, tons and tons, but if we're talking about something like flipper, if we're talking about something like you see at SeaWorld, I mean, I've seen them maybe in a aquarium or whatever, but out in the world, Becca and I went whale watching the last time we were in Hawaii and stuff. We saw a lot of things that were dolphin-esque, but I don't know if they were legit dolphins.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. We're going to be heading to Hawaii soon, and that's always a big part of our end of March. And so that's always the big part of our trip is the whale watching, which it started, with me, Genevieve, and her family going on these kind of bigger kind of booze cruisy kind of boats, almost like not a ferry, but more like that with an upstairs and a downstairs. You can look over the rails to now
you're now under the boat. You're in scuba gear, being hung from beneath the hull of the boat.
We're like Bob Balaban in Seinfeld, trying to impress Elaine, and so he joins Greenpeace, and he's in one of those little rubber boats with a little motor. Exactly. So that's what we'll be doing.
That's what you guys are in, huh?
We do get in those rubber boats. Yeah, sit on the edge of the rubber. I love that, and that way because Genevieve is super, super, super into nature and learning about the animals and everything, and I'm there and I'm like, oh, this is interesting, but also my mind will wander. I like to take photos, and not even photos of the animals. You need kind of a telephoto lens to take some incredible photos of that, but just of the surroundings, and I like dipping my hand in the water. I just like being out there for a couple of hours or a few hours or whatever it is.
We've got it next time Becca and I are over that way. That's what we've got to do, because last time we were there, we did the whale watching thing, but we were on one of those it's a boat. It's got two different floor, two levels to it, and it was to be honest, it was still cool.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Because we get out there and I'm like, are we even going to see anything? And also it was rough. I might have talked about this on the show. I can't remember if I was doing shows from Hawaii or not. I think I might have mentioned this, but we had the captain who was on the mic was this has happened to us now twice. Once in San Antonio, we did a river, the San Antonio river tour. They have this kind of man-made river that snakes through San Antonio. And the person leading, the person on the mic on the little boat was like, people always tell me I should be a comedian. And that's one of the worst things you could hear at the beginning of a 1-hour excursion.
Yeah, it is.
People always tell me I should be a comedian. It was brutal. And
second only to, does anybody else smell that?
Yep. And so we're just oh, no. And yes, it was as bad as we were worried it would be. This person was just constantly trying to crack all these jokes. And it was and there wasn't that many people on the boat. And I'm really uncomfortable when someone is making an obvious attempt at humor and I don't know how to react to it. I can't do the fake laugh. Or sometimes I do, but then I hate myself for it. And if there's not a lot of people to spread that burden, that emotional labor, it's rough.
Yeah, right.
This was a little better because there was a lot of people on the boat, so I didn't feel like I had to laugh at him. But it's just, again, it was painful that he you're like a Captain Ron type. He was like a kind of a sunburned. I think he was maybe from New Zealand originally, or like Australia. He was like a kind of a sunburned guy who had an accent, who knows all about whales and knows about running the boat, which that's sufficient. That's all I'm looking for in this tour, sir. But anyway, it was still really fun. And that was with us not actually being able to get very close to the whales. How close are you actually getting to those whales in that little Bob Balaban mobile?
Well, pretty close. There are rules about how close you can get.
Sure.
And I think, so I don't want to make it sound like we're outside the law here.
No, but just a smaller boat, it would seem that
you can
there's got to be a little bit more.
Really close. Like, I have a photo of a whale breaching. I told you before, like, when you're taking photos with your camera, like, if people are showing up with their actual cameras, not their phone cameras or whatever, usually these are people, and sometimes they're very annoying too, with, like, like a telephoto lens and something that can kind of zoom in well and have, very... You don't really need the lens to be fast in that situation, but whatever. But the point is, I don't have that kind of stuff. I have a wide-angle lens that I just like to take my weird photos with, but I usually, carry it with me anyway. But even with my, well, not really wide-angle, but my 55-millimeter lens, which is just it's just what the human eye sees. When you say 55, it's just that's what the human eye sees. Mm-hmm. I have this photo of these whales that look like it's zoomed in. We were so close to them. Wow. But I will say, I've never been on a boat where I feel like they are Captain Ronning it too much. It seems like even this last one we went on in Mexico, where we were very, very close to the animals, before we got on it, we had to sit through a 20-minute really janky slideshow.
Yes,
with and the instructor had plastic models of the various whales and did a Q&A with us and everything. They're very into the educational experience, and I believe the safety of the animals as well. Genevieve always picks these places. I would feel pretty uncomfortable if it was hey, look how close we're getting to the animals, and they have a cigarette dangling out of their corner of their mouth, and they're holding a Coors Light, right?
And I want to be clear, too, that our captain, he was very by the rules in terms of, the boat and the distance and all that. It wasn't like he was, honestly, his biggest transgression was his attempts at comedy.
Yeah, that's
it
my
wasn't
biggest
anything.
transgression.
And I also wouldn't want, yes, I'm so in awe of these creatures that my desire to be close to them would not supersede my desire for their life to be as uninterrupted as possible.
Yeah.
I would happily be further away from them because of the rules than closer to them, and in any way ruining their day, stressing them out, freaking them out. I don't want any part of that. Now, when you say breaching, you mean fully jumping out of the water? That thing's in the air, it's out of...
A whale is never fully out of the water.
Well, mostly out of the water.
That would be crazy. But breach and then blow, it'll blow its water. Let me see if I can find
Well, because I always think of breaching as they're jumping most of their body out of the water.
Yeah, you'll see you'll kind of, not all at once, but you'll see a big chunk of them kind of come up out of the water and then go back down. Then they'll go back down for a really, really long time while they get more fish.
But actually, I think the coolest thing that we saw involving whales and breaching was not even in that boat, but I think later on that same trip, we were driving around. It was me and Becca and her brother Scott and his wife Tiff, and it was sunset, and we were literally we were in maybe their rental car or something, and we just roll up to this beach. And just happened to be sunset, and we didn't have a blanket and a pillow. We weren't there to do a picnic. We're just hey, it's sunset. Let's try to catch a view of that. It's Hawaii. It's the sunset. We park, I think illegally, because I think the place was already packed. We jump out, we run over, and literally, as the sun is setting, there are these two enormous, I'm going to say humpback whales, although I don't really know what they were, but we're talking gigantic ones, that just decided to put on an incredible performance where they were just almost completely leaving the water and then slapping down, and then another one would go up and as the sun is setting behind them. Andrew, if you think I wasn't crying a little bit, it was intense. It was one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. So, but critically, and I think this is what the listeners are also curious about, Andrew, do I have it on my calendar that you're going to Hawaii?
Yeah, I think we've talked about this a lot. You should. We'll talk about it more. It's at the end of March. It's for it's kind of a Genevieve birthday trip situation. By the way, I am sending you
end of March
a photo of.
I do not have it on my calendar, and I'm sure that's not your fault. I better put it on there.
Yeah. I'll resend you the dates
Why don't you
later.
send me those
I think I
deets?
sent them a
Let me
long
check my
time
Palm
ago.
Pilot.
But anyway, I did just send you a photo of Genevieve and dolphins. I just want to be very clear. When you open this up and you look, you're like, those are Andrew thinks dolphins are whales. I just want you to know that the photo I could find on the fly was of dolphins.
See, I don't even know. Maybe I have seen those, but I don't even know if I've seen something that cool in the dolphin space. I think I've mostly seen porpoises, and this is obviously Hawaii, I'm guessing.
This one here, let me see. I don't know. I can't figure out if it was Mexico or Hawaii. Those are the places
somewhere
we usually
warm,
do it.
though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We was hoping for some razzle-dazzle.
Razzle-dazzle.
That's right, man. Razzle-dazzle.
On your mark.
On your mark.
Get set.
Get set.
Now ready.
Ready. Go.
Everybody razzle dazzle.
All right, let's thank some dazzling donors. These folks are donating a dazzling amount of dough. And that's how this whole thing can work. That's how we can do this 5 days a week, all year long. It's 100% listener supported. Supported by folks like our friend Barbara West of San Jose, California.
San Jose Barbie.
Pronounce her or Barbie, I suppose. I don't know. That I suppose, Andrew, sounds like maybe Barbara. Maybe we're entering a Barbara phase.
Barbara explained this maybe last year or the year before that she goes by Barbara, but I think when she joined the TENS community, maybe there was already a Barbara or something. There was some reason that
I think.
She created that name specifically as like kind of her tendom
TBTL handle.
Yeah, nom de plume.
But I just want to make sure that Barbara is still cool with that.
Sure, I'm with you.
We just
on
made
that,
a big production the other day about how we'll pronounce your name ideally correctly, or even however you want it, even if it's incorrectly. If your name is Des Moines, that's fine. We'll call you Des Moines. Barbara is in San Jose, California. It says, "Wow, it's hard to believe another year has gone by, and I'm so happy that TBTL is still such an important part of my life." Aw, Barbara. I'm glad that it's part of your life too. Like, I remember when Barbara entered the discourse, like years and years ago, and I remember it blowing my mind that we had someone listening in San Jose, California.
Yeah, all the way.
I feel like it was definitely still radio times, maybe, and just like anytime we had somebody checking in from a place that wasn't, Green Lake, it was just like, I can't believe this is traveling as far as San Jose. And so for this to be so many years later, so many episodes later, and Barbara's still listening and donating, it's just like incredible. I've still never missed an episode. And whenever the guys say, I'm sure everybody stopped listening an hour ago, I promise you, we haven't. TVTL continues to be a weirdly important relationship in my life, despite the fact that we're all imaginary radio friendos. You three business boys are such special people. And so are all of the other people who pop into the show, like Luke's mom, David, Vives, Bingo, P. Fletch, and all the others who make surprise guest appearances. I'm looking forward to many more years of being able to support this podcast and the awesome community surrounding it. Barbara, well, thank you so much for just being a friend of the show for all these years, and for giving me some early indication that maybe this was working, that maybe people outside of the immediate Cairo radio listening audience would have some interest in this. So
eventually you'd reach as far away as New Hampshire and Japan.
Yeah. Did you ever interact with? I mean, I know you sent in some drops, right?
I sent you that Bob, not Bob Garfield, the Bob Edwards drop of "That's the Saddest Thing I've Ever Heard."
Oh, that's still in heavy rotation. So good instincts on that.
Yeah, I think I've looked
also.
it up.
I wouldn't put it past you to send me a Bob Garfield.
Bob Garfield has made its way into. Let's see here. Here's the email that I sent to you on March 5th. 2009. Wow. So March 5th, we're getting close to the anniversary of this thing, although I can't do the math. I wrote to you, "Hey Luke, Andrew Walsh here, the guy from New Hampshire." So apparently I had reached out to you in some sort of correspondence before this. I would have guessed this was our first correspondence, but I guess not. Andrew Walsh here, the guy from New Hampshire. I'm attaching a 2-second piece of audio here. Genevieve and I play it for each other a lot. It's from a Bob Edwards Morning Edition interview. I can't remember the exact topic. Oh, you know what I realized? This is March of 2009. I'm already in Seattle. I must have come and visited you, and then I must have captured this in New Hampshire and then sent it to you years later, which is weird. I can't remember the exact topic, but his guest quoted a study that says people will eat a lot more food if they can order it from a machine instead of a person. So if fast food restaurants want to make more money, they should use robots and machines to take orders instead of people. Something like that. Bob's response is attached. Hope you're doing well.
That's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
That is all true. I remember that. I'm confused why I sent that to you once I was already in Seattle. I swore I had a memory of sending that to you when I was still in New Hampshire, but I guess not.
Well, again, not to turn this into the Luke Appreciation Club, but I find it oddly gratifying, Andrew, that you in New Hampshire, when we had literally never met, liked the show enough to kind of give it a listen. And when, again, a lot of that's probably Jen's energy and Sean and just like the overall whateverness of the show. But, you and I have a lot of similarities, but then also a lot of differences in our personalities. And I would have been unshocked if you would have turned it on and maybe it was just like a bad night for me, or I'm just saying something silly or whatever. And you were just kind of like, I don't like this guy. Like I wouldn't have been shocked either if that was the response. But the fact that you were like, oh yeah, okay, let me give this a listen. Let me listen to this while I'm mowing the lawn. Let me kind of engage with this content. Like, it's so weird for that to be really gratifying to me now that I've known you for so long and so well. But like, I'm glad you liked the show back in the day, or at least tolerated the show, because, it would be weird. It would be really weird if you hated it and you worked here.
The thing to remember is there were fewer podcasts back then. So, no, I'm obviously teasing you. I do remember it being a period.
That is true. That did help us, by the
where
way.
I was trying to grab, I was listening to a lot of podcasts. Podcasting was new, and you guys were doing a radio show but putting out the podcast, and I did love it. I wish I could remember better, like maybe the first episode I listened to or something, but I'm sure I've said this to you before. When I think about those early days of me listening, I have a very specific memory of listening while packing up the house to move out to Seattle. And I don't know if you're like this, but there are certain things that I just remember exactly where I was when I heard it. I remember
You're better at this than I am.
The closet in this living room area. We had a closet, kind of a storage area. And I remember, I think Genevieve might have already been in Seattle. I was still back in New Hampshire, and I'm emptying out that closet and packing it up. And I'm listening to you and Jen and Tom Tangney.
Oh, wow. See, Tommy T.
Yeah. Boy, I just got in my head about that because everybody says his name wrong, and now I haven't worked with him in so long. I'm always...
It's Tom Tangney.
Yeah, I said it right.
Yeah, you said it right.
Yeah, I was just questioning myself because he had a co-host who couldn't say his last name.
Tangney.
Yeah, and that made me so angry, and I was just double-checking myself there. But anyway, it was the one where you all were reviewing Christmas movies, I think, and I think Jen got literally emotional and started crying while talking about Home Alone or something along the lines of that.
That sounds about right.
And I remember listening to that and emptying out my closet and being like, oh, yeah, these are my people.
And you remember thinking, someday that'll be where I work. And in fact, I will have done, 4,000 more episodes than anybody on this thing except Luke.
Someday this show will make me unemployable for any other job.
Someday this show will break me.
Like all the pretty horses.
Yep. Maestro?
On your mark. On your mark. Get set. Get set.
Somebody's reading Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah, I finished that a while back. I'm kind of in between books. I'm reading the world's worst mystery novel right now. I was telling you off air by Truman... Yeah. Or I'm sorry, Harry Truman's daughter, Margaret Truman. Murder on Capitol Hill. I gotta find a better book to read. This
Murder
is terrible.
at Bullfeathers.
What is Bullfeathers? Is that
It's like a bar on
area?
Capitol Hill, like a restaurant that people would go to.
I'll bet you it's in the series.
Hey, look who we're thanking. It's our friend Aaron Schultz, who's in Shoreline, Washington. Aaron is pronounced Aaron.
Of course.
Key and Peele style. And the last name is the name of the guy who stole the Sonics, but no relation. Okay. Because Aaron, if you've listened to the show for a long time, and you probably have, I've got that story, which I'll spare everyone from, where I had a chance to finally give Howard Schultz a piece of my mind, and I opted not to because it was more important in that moment that I seem, I guess, wealthy, cool. I don't know what I was doing. I was more interested in just being seen as his equal than letting him know. And that means I've still got some Schultz-related anger I need to unload. But it's not going to be on you, Aaron.
You really
would never be on you.
I don't want to say got in my head. You were sort of ahead of something. Luke, you were ahead of my anxiety on something, which is when people were talking about the fact that the Seahawks will go up for sale after the Super Bowl, the one that just happened, and it looked like, this is definitely in the works. You were the first person to say, and it could easily be somebody like Bezos, and then how am I going to feel rooting for the Seahawks? And then, of course, now the news is official, it's up for sale, and what does Seattle Times have but a big picture of Bezos as probably top contender, and it's like, oh my God.
I know, Becca texted me, like she got a news alert. This is her level of engagement with the Seahawks. She got a text alert that said, Seahawks for sale, and she goes, is this an issue for you? And my first thought was like, well, no, because they're not going to move. I don't think there's any danger of them leaving Seattle.
No, I don't think so.
So that's always been my fear around my teams being sold, because it almost happened. Well, actually, it almost happened to the Seahawks. They had moved their workout equipment to Los Angeles. Ken Behring had actually moved moved the Seahawks like actual brick and mortar stuff, like their weights and stuff.
Was this after the Cleveland thing? Was this like after 95-ish?
I think it was before that.
Really?
I'm me. Wow. I'm terrible with dates, but it was, the Seahawks ownership. This guy named Ken Behring decided he wanted to move them, and I guess this maybe would have been a time when like LA didn't have a team or had one team, and I remember there was news clips of like moving trucks like packing up the like Seahawks like workout equipment and leaving, heading for California. And then the Mariners, same thing happened where they were rumored to be going to Tampa Bay if they were sold, and then of course it really happened with the Sonics. All that is to say, my fear around the sale of my team is always, are they going to move? That's not my fear with Seattle. But then I also realized, man, good ownership really, really, really sets a tone for a team, and bad ownership also really, really sets a tone for a team.
Yeah,
it's not a non-factor in how the overall kind of like health of the team. It really does sort of seem to emanate from the owner, because they, of course, have a huge say in who the coach is, who the general manager is. So it's all an extension and a reflection of them in a way. And I guess we got to give Jody Allen a lot of credit, really. I mean, she was sort of pressed into duty when Paul Allen died. But so anyway, I guess I went from being not stressed about it to now being more stressed about it.
It's funny. I was thinking against my own values this morning, because I'm not worried about the team moving either. And you're right, management does translate, and ownership does translate into the product on the field. But aside from that, it's just been like, okay, Jody Allen, like pretty innocuous owner, kind of like temporarily inherited the team to run it, has done a great job, made hiring decisions that led to a Super Bowl, and also is just somebody who I don't have hate in my heart for, know? And so I'm like, why can't Jody just keep the team? I mean, technically she's running it for the estate, but
that's the craziest part of this whole story to me.
They're selling it because there's a mandate for the estate to liquefy the assets and do good things with it, supposedly. Get it into like the hands of people who will make the world a better place.
Yes.
And I'm kind of like, but I don't want to root for Bezos.
Yeah, totally. I've been going on the same journey in my mind. It's like, this is a very good thing from Paul Allen.
Yeah.
To realize that when he was long gone, that there was no need for his like extremely valuable assets to just sort of, I don't know, exist in perpetuity in his memory with like, who knows even who would be running it. It was like, no, the money from all these things should be going to things that are important, and that's actually a really good way to think about, this kind of wealth that he amassed. So it's all a good thing, really. But yeah, it kind of bums me out, because it's like, couldn't we go back and just like maybe not do that? Couldn't we just ignore this one thing from his will? Because it all seems to be going pretty well right now.
Yeah, exactly.
We got Jody Allen, who we like. The team is rocking. We got a young coach. We got like, in fact, that's actually what Becca said was, because I keep telling her, I'm like, I think we're in a window here. I think we're like in about a 3-year window where the Seahawks are going to be phenomenal. And her message was something like, does this mess with your 3-year window?
Good. Yeah.
Anyway, back to A.A. Ron Schultz's dazzling donor message. Hello, Cobros. I'm excited to be able to dazzle you with my donation this year. I was able to increase my contribution due to the construction materials company I independently represent. It's called Hydroblock Showers, which, according to my accountant, I must mention twice for taxes. Well, I'll say it again. Hydroblock Showers. I appreciate all of the hours of entertainment and parasocial camaraderie you provide. The more opinionated and uncensored, the better. See that, Andrew? Aaron would like some hot talk from us.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to think
careful,
of something
though.
really,
It's
really spicy
spicy.
for later, yeah.
Occasionally, opinions on products or services in the home remodeling sector will make me want to throw my phone, but in the end, this has helped me professionally approach my job as industry education rather than pushy sales to remarkable success, because everyone has topics in which they are specialized. Anyway, if you want to correctly waterproof your next tiled shower or tub surround, whether in the construction trades, a homeowner hiring a pro or a DIY enthusiast, check out Hydroblock. Ice out and remove the orange tyrant. Job done.
Nice.
A.A. Ron. Aaron, would you believe that you can't see this because this is audio, but behind me there's a respectability bookshelf, which features 2 of my daytime Emmys and other TBTL stuff. Also a picture of the junior sluggers who are going to be getting back on the field pretty soon here, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
Behind that, though, is a wall. And on the other side of that wall is a bathroom.
And in that bathroom are 2 bobbleheads of you and me that watch people when they pee.
Yep.
Is that still true?
Not anymore. Not after the police stopped by. But there is a shower that is yet to be installed in there. And, I mean, it's framed and it's plumbed, but there's no tile. There's no drain. We were thinking, get at me, Aaron. We were thinking about doing one of those doing a Schluter kind of shower pan situation. But I'm going to check out Hydroblock. Because when you say if you'd like to correctly waterproof your next tiled shower, it's going to be a tiled shower. So I'm going to give that a look-see.
I'm on the website now. Listeners can find it at hydroblock.com.
You guys aren't doing any nothing to do with your bathroom, with your downstairs bathroom.
No,
with
I
this
mean,
project
that
you're
would
doing.
dare to dream at some point, but that would be super far down the line. My bathroom's pretty jacked up, unfortunately. It's like a really terribly installed, very cheap shower tub thing that was installed so poorly that water doesn't drain right out of it. It's kind of a nightmare.
That's what you need, Hydroblock.
I know I need Hydroblock.
Looking at this right now, this looks a lot like, this is a shower pan. This looks a lot like what they do with that Schluter situation. So yeah, Aaron, hit me up. Let me know what I should be doing here, because that's a big project for like this summer. Is Walt and I are going to get in there and actually we're going to finish off the Madrona Hill studio, which means make that bathroom totally functional with a shower, and then also finish the kitchen so that there's a actual. Right now, what happens every day when I finish the show with you, Andrew, I usually will take like my cup of coffee, which almost always has a little coffee left in the bottom of it, and I will dump it into the bathroom sink, which feels there's something wrong about that.
Luke, because our kitchenette is
you're
all
doing that right now.
Our kitchenette is all ripped out. I try not to do it. Every now and then I'll dump a little bit of something
Feels
in there.
wrong.
But I will now. I have a better situation than you because I have a kitchen right above me. You have to go outside. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
in that way, I mean better. But so right now when we don't have our sink in the basement, I can't tell you how many times I'm going there after the show with like a water bottle and a cup of coffee that I'm going to maybe just like rinse and drain. I'm like, oh, it's not there. And then I think for a second, will I go into the bathroom to rinse this mug? And I decide, nay, I shall march myself upstairs because I don't. Yeah. There's something weird about that to me.
Brown coffee into the bathroom sink just feels like I'm not living my best life for some reason.
Yeah.
It's very upsetting anyway. Hey, thank you so much to our donors. Thanks for making TBTL possible.
Hello and welcome to Top Story.
So, Andrew, you were talking about this French film, Bonheur, which translates to happiness, that you just kind of randomly watched yesterday or 2 days ago or whatever, recently on HBO. And last night, after I finished up a bunch of my Livewire research, by the way, tonight, Livewire, Alberta Rose Theater, 7:30, come on down. I was like, let me treat myself to a little bit of the other two. And then I was going to watch that, but then I was like, oh yeah, but Andrew mentioned that movie. Let me just I just kind of want to see what he was talking about. I want to see what the pacing of the movie is and what the color is and stuff like that. And so I went ahead and put it on, and By the way, you had sort of mentioned when you were talking about it that I think you said like something like it wasn't a long film or something, but I mean it's a standard length film. It was like what was like 80 minutes or something.
But by today's standard, that's under an hour and a half. I just feel like movies have gotten so long, and I've gotten to this point where it's like, oh, you really got to sit down and commit to it. It felt like, and I did watch it, and this is not the best way to watch cinema, but I did watch it in a couple of different sittings because I kind of started it in the middle of the day, just wanted to see what it was about, and then had to go on to do other things, and then came back to it. But to me, 80 minutes just feels like it just feels so doable by movie standards these days.
I was watching it probably in like the ideal circumstances, which was like the whole. I had the house fairly dim. I have a pretty big TV, and just like had the sound bar going. Although actually, I would say the audio is a big part of it, or at least the music is a big part of it.
Yeah, the Mozart.
Yeah, it's funny. Like in the music credits, it's like whatever Mozart's. I don't think I've ever thought about. I guess it's Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. It's like music W.A. Mozart.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I've seen that name before.
It's funny. I didn't pay attention to the credits, but I looked up later what the music was because it was so. It was classical music, but it was very edgy at times, especially near the end. And I was like, "What is this?"
And what you had said about the film was you watched it, you kind of couldn't stop thinking about it. You were still sort of trying to make up your mind a little bit about the film. And I would say that that's probably exactly where I am. One thing that I will say is I did not, as I so often do, experience this as a two-screen situation, which is to say at no time did I pull out my phone and start like looking at TikTok or other things.
Yeah.
Which is funny because, you'd think, okay, this movie. It's, I think, 1965. It's French. They're speaking French. It's kind of like nothing's going on really for most of the movie. It's just people are just kind of living their life. And so in a way you could say, and again, I also don't know if the acting is good or not because it's in French.
Do you know about the actors? Do you know this dazzling detail?
I don't think so.
The main
were those his real kids?
Yeah, and his real wife, who are not actors. So the main character is an actor.
I noticed they all had the same last name.
Oh, okay, yeah, because you were looking at the credits.
I was looking him up to see if he was still hot.
Yes, he looks like Barry.
Hot Bill Hader.
Bill Hader, Barry from TV. And he looks a lot like Bill Hader. And I think Bill Hader's kind of hot anyway, but yeah, this is super hot Bill Hader.
Real steamy Bill Hader.
And there's something about the way he acts, too, just like small gesticulations. You could believe that there would be like some sort of relation there. I'm sorry to keep going here, but anyway, I
didn't know that was his real wife. That makes so much more sense.
I didn't know until afterwards either. That's his real. So she cast him, who he had a little bit of a. He already had a little cachet because he was in some TV show or somewhere, and then, but she cast him, and then cast his real life wife and two children, and those children are adorable.
This makes so much sense because let me just, if I can, like in 2 minutes, lay out the basic plot, if you will, of this movie. And I'm not worried about spoiling it for people. Are you worried about spoiling it for people?
Because here's why. And I was thinking about this yesterday in case we talked about it. I will say, if we want to really talk about like what is really at the heart of this movie, we have to spoil it. And I know that you could make the joke like, oh, it's 1965. It's been a long time. But there is a very real chance that people hear us talking about this movie that maybe they haven't heard of or meant to, and are like, oh, I would like to watch this now that the boys are talking about it. So I will just say, everything that I've just rambled for the past 15 seconds has given you plenty of time to skip ahead if you want, because I think we will now enter into spoiler territory. And I'll even try to put some timestamps in the show description. Maybe look in your show description and you can tell when to pick this back up. And now we're free and clear.
Although I was going to say, I think we can talk about it without spoiling it.
Okay.
What I was going to say was the movie basically involves a family. It's this guy and his wife and their two kids, and they're kind of living I guess it'd be technically called a suburban life, although, boy, the suburbs of France don't look like the suburbs of the U.S.
Yeah.
Still seems very beautiful and kind of urban in a way, and just kind of a very charming, lovely little kind of scene. But
do you mean urban or rural? Because it struck me as being very rural, the suburbs.
I guess, although they live with neighbors, right next door to them. They have that little courtyard. Like when I think of suburban, I think of American suburbs. And I guess what I mean is their immediate flat they live in, walking, to get bread in the little town square.
Gotcha.
Like it felt very charming to me in a way that I guess what you're picking up here is I don't think of the suburbs as all that charming.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, and I think you're right about that. I was surprised to hear it described as suburban because it seemed like very, very working class and rustic to me. Like maybe not rural, but very rustic. I mean, literally.
Sure.
First of all, it's a
like
different era. It's
their
1965. Their bed. I mean, they are living. This family's living a very, very modest living. Their kitchen sink is like a tub that has a hose coming into it.
Yes, and it's also where he shaves, I think, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but all that is to say, what I was struck by immediately was the naturalism of the kids and the way that the husband and wife and the kids are all interacting. I mean, so much of the movie is literally them just like they're kind of at the park on a Sunday, and then they're getting in the Citroen, which is the little car that I think he borrows from his uncle or whatever, and then they're like in their house. And I found the scenes with the children and the way that the children were talking to the parents to be so shockingly naturalistic. And now that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they're literally the parents. That's extremely smart casting.
It really is,
smart
right?
casting.
And they all do a really good job. Like even
they do a great job.
The wife who these kids are like, one of them is kind of pre-verbal. He doesn't really talk much at all. They reference that. The little girl who I guess is slightly older does talk a little bit and is very charming, but it doesn't seem like acting. It just seems like
But you need to cancel her over that like Native American headdress or native what? I don't know. What do you even call it? I guess it's Native American because I don't think that was happening in France.
No, it was interesting to watch that. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm watching a movie in France from 1965 and I can't get away from this racist depiction of kids playing quote unquote cowboys and Indians. But I guess it was so popular at the cinema from Hollywood movies that it had made its way over to Paris. And so this little girl is kind of obsessed in part of the movie with, again, quote unquote cowboys and Indians. As they call it. But anyway, I think I interrupted you here.
Well, no, just that makes so. I was really the way this started was me saying I can't really tell if the acting is good or not because it's in another language, and by that I mean the way that let's just say, so he's a carpenter. He works in this kind of carpentry studio wood shop, and there's this one point where he comes in and he's got a couple of bottles of rosé because I think it's maybe one of the guys that works there's birthday or something, and he gives the guy like a bottle of rosé, and the guy says to him something like, "You've like thank you so much. You're the best. You've been like a father to me," or something. And it's like, is that the most naturalistic delivery of that line? I don't know. Is that good writing? There's no development of that character. Like, it's weird to watch this movie and interpret it through the lens of like what now in my mind passes for a good movie in like 2026 versus what they're doing in this movie. But all that is to say, like, I was totally entranced by the whole thing. Like, whether or not I thought that maybe every line was beautifully written or every line was delivered with like believability or what have you, or if I think even the plot development makes sense to me, I don't know if any of that even matters. I just couldn't look away from this film.
Yeah, one thing, and maybe I don't know enough about this, so maybe I'm giving it too many excuses, but I have a strong feeling that some of that dialogue also is lost in translation, quite literally. Like that line that you say specifically, I'll bet you has a different meaning and different nuance in the French language. And there were a couple of times I was watching the subtitles and I'm like, I know that I'm missing something here, But, not that this makes it a good movie, but for me personally, it was like every shot was like if I took one photo as beautiful as a single random shot in that movie, I could die happy. You know what I mean? Like
the color in the film is just beyond.
and the way that she uses the camera, Agnes Varda is the director, the way she uses the camera and that it'll snap away to something else and the edits and like then I had told you yesterday that I was a little distracted because people had described it like literally in some official like genres, people had included it in like the horror genre, and I'm a little bit unclear about that. I think that has to do with some takes about what actually happens in the end of the movie, and then when you combine her style. But it's like I was telling you before
It's
the
not
show,
a horror film.
It's not a horror film, and and that kind of was a distraction for me a little bit watching this movie, knowing that like, well, what's going to happen here? Although it might have been one of the reasons I was so glued to it.
Well,
but
certainly I was the whole time going like, when's the horror part? When's the horror part?
are you being serious? Even though I said try to get that out of your head, I just
but I didn't
spread
believe
the
you.
misinformation even more. Yeah, and I actually understand that interpretation, and we don't have to kind of get into it now. But I think it's more of a movie about nature. The guy is obsessed with nature, and it plays a huge role. Do you love it? I don't remember what I looked it up later, but the opening scene is this family, and they're playing out in the woods. They live in this sort of, very, like I said, humble abode somewhere in what they call the suburbs. But they clearly love to spend their Saturdays or weekends or whatever, just like with the kids rolling around in a field under a tree, waiting for the kids to take a nap. So the
Kids
parents
under a mosquito net.
Yes, and so the parents can have mommy and daddy time. And what I liked was on the actual opening shot, you notice that the mom/wife is wearing like a really cute like dress, like kind of a summer dress, but it's a little dirty. And like I noticed like she wears the same exact pair of shoes in every single scene in the movie. And so, again, sort of underscoring the fact that these are not rich people. But when the movie opens, I don't know anything about it. I'm like, is this a movie about people living in the woods? Like, is this a family because the kids are sleeping, the parents are sort of lolling about or whatever. And I really like that, like you see how dirty her kind of dress is at the hems because she's been, tromping around in the woods. And then we learn that no, they're just having a day in the woods or in a field somewhere. And it's just something that they enjoy doing as a family. And I think that is a major theme in the movie. And I like when they come back to sort of quote unquote civilization and they go to visit his uncle just very briefly. There's this weird scene where for some reason they just go and say a quick hello and then a quick goodbye. But the aunt and uncle have a TV in their living room and they're watching either a TV show or a movie, but it's an absolute echo of the scene that we just saw.
Yeah.
It's two people sitting under a tree. And I really loved that.
And the woman is saying to the man, I love hearing you talk. Just say something.
Oh,
You're so
yeah,
smart.
that's right.
Then he's just going into this very kind of eloquent thing that he's saying or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one more thing that I wanted to say about, the camera work is phenomenal to me. There were so many, and maybe this is a new wave cinema thing that I don't know about because, again, my knowledge of this period of cinema is very, very limited, actually. But I get the sense that, cameras were big and bulky and kind of hard to do. Like, there was no steady cam. There was no guy wearing a harness that's like, like with some kind of gimbal on it. Like, but there were so many shots where it's like, I don't know how she was getting this effect with the camera where you're like in this apartment or in this flat or in this whatever. And the camera is just moving with people in this way that I feel like I've never seen a movie of this era where they could do that with the camera. It was so much more just like you had to lock it down. I don't even know if at this point that they really did the thing with like the tracks, like a tracking shot very much. Like the camera was so intimate in these rooms. There was also those edits that you were talking about where like it totally non-naturalistically, like it just cut between something and something else and something and something else in a way that maybe under other circumstances would kind of annoy me because I'd be like, what is this doing for the story? But it was just creating a vibe that was really really interesting and cool to me. Also, one deet, I meant to go find, the Andrew, if you think I'm not going to start dressing exactly like Hot Bill Hader, actually, I should really dress like the uncle. That's more my demo now. If you think I'm not going to start dressing like the uncle,
he's kind of wearing work pants a lot, right? Am I doing that right?
Totally.
Yeah.
That's like his uncle is also a carpenter, and they're just wearing this like what's kind of working man's clothes, but which are so stylish. You know what they actually remind me of a little bit? I don't know if you remember this as much as I do, but in the movie Her, the outfits they have Joaquin Phoenix in, it's a lot of like chore coats and barrel pants and like high-waisted things. I just learned this recently. So there's a coat that the main the dad, I guess, the main character in the movie is wearing at one point, and it's like invented in France. It's called the chore coat, and it's basically like, it's kind of like a cotton, and it's got two pockets on the front, and it's blue, And it was, for working people, you could put your tools in the pockets, but it was made out of a durable material that wouldn't, and I own like 2 or 3 of them. They don't look as cool on me as they do on that guy. Did you know that's where the term blue collar comes from?
No, but that makes total sense.
That's the origins of blue collar work is from the French chore coat, which this guy is totally wearing, like, not for effect, but because that's what a guy of that era in France who had that job would be wearing. It's just what you would wear.
Do you know what I always thought? I never re-examined this as an adult. Like, of course, the phrase would go back further than this. But, I worked for my dad, and, I worked out in the shop. And there were, like, the people who worked in the front of the building, and that was the office where the engineers worked and the bookkeeper and whatnot. And then out in the shop, you had the guys like me who were, like, I was sorting scrap. There were other people who were welding and stuff like that. And my people in the shop, we're all wearing those Cintas uniforms, with the little name on it here. And our shirts were always that, like, light blue color, that shop blue color that you can picture on your classic work shirt. And that's why I just always thought, well, that's why it's blue collar, because we wear the blue collars out here and they wear the white collars up there.
I think, it also may have just, like, been something that we said over here, like, concurrently. But I was somehow watching a mini documentary about the chore coat the other day, unrelated to this movie, and they were talking about that too. But yes, the fashion in this movie, it just kills me. It's just like, I got to take notes, and I have to basically burn all of my current wardrobe and just start dressing like one of the people in this movie, one of the guys in this movie, because it's like they're all, and again, it feels so not an affect. Like, of course, if I did it, it would be a total affectation, but it's not an affectation for them. I was also really obsessed with what was going on with people's teeth in the movie, because everyone except the 2 children is just chain smoking constantly, probably.
Yeah, they are.
Like both in the film and not in the film, because that's just what that was happening in France in 1965. So I was trying to see, like, I don't know, I was trying to, in a way, get a sense of what actual 1965 France was through the actors and the people in this movie, not even in the story that was being portrayed in the film, but in the neighbor lady's teeth were very brown. And I was trying to imagine her life as an actor in France. Was she in movies? Was she a stage person? How did she get this role? Was she famous in France? I was like, I don't know. It's going in these weird places in my mind. But all that is to say, thank you for the recommendation.
What do you think about him stealing that bread from that woman walking across the street? There's so many, now that we're talking about it, there's so many little details, and I know you're wrapping up, but do you remember he's just like, and I'm trying to figure out, is it just because he's got hot guy swag, or in the 60s you could just do that? But there's literally, it couldn't be more Parisian, right? He's in the city, and a woman is passing him, and she's got a baguette in her bag that she's carrying, and he's passing her, and he's like kind of in love and skipping, and he just rips a big chunk of her baguette, and she gives him a look like, hey, what's up, Buster? But he's just like shrugs.
But then
and eats
she
her
also
bread.
smiles.
Yeah, she smiles. Yeah, exactly.
What I took away from that is, because I saw there was that scene. There was another scene where he gets home and he's really hungry, and he's like, what basically, how soon is it going to be dinner? I'm starving. And he also just like rips a piece of bread off.
Yeah.
He was just raw dogging that bread.
Yeah.
No butter.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Just like just a piece of bread, just a tip of a baguette by itself, which I thought was an interesting move, because it would never occur to me to eat.
Oh, that didn't bother me.
That kind of bread without some butter on it.
Oh, I'll bet you it's good. And
I'm sure it is.
I thought you were thinking about the carbs, because I was just like, that's
no.
not fair. You don't get to have that jaw eat a baguette like that.
No, I was, though, very fascinated with seeing that guy is one of the most naturally handsome people I think I've ever seen, effortlessly so. And I was very curious, like, what's the trajectory for a guy like that? Because, and again, we're trying to be careful about how we talk about bodies and faces and looks and people and stuff. But, like, I just, as a person who would never had that particular thing going, like, I'm always curious about somebody, particularly a guy, I guess, because that's how I relate, because I am a guy, of like, what would it be like to be that dude in the world? Just like, you look like that, and you just steal people's baguettes, and they just go, and then does that prepare you well for life, or does that actually ill prepare you for life as you get older, as your looks change, as like you sort of come back down to earth a little bit with the rest of us, What does that look like? Or do you just get to be Ethan Hawke, who just appears more or less unchanged? Like, he's been doing a lot of interviews lately, and he's just like, Ethan Hawke just is Ethan Hawke. He just gets to be Ethan Hawke his whole life. He doesn't ever have to be like a normal person.
Do you think the French guy was looks-maxing?
No, because he was not trying.
No, of course.
That's what makes him and Clavicular so different, Andrew. So different.
We finally got to the heart of the movie.
Thank you.
There's a right way to rock and a wrong way to roll. You can't just listen to your soul. Just remember that life is number one. You can be having so much fun. Just remember that life is much fun. You can be number one.
We have a healthy amount of Blursays today,
All
Luke.
right.
Yeah, and this is the way you can wish yourself or someone you care about a happy birthday. You can email me, Andrew at tbtl.net. That's Andrew at tbtl.net. Put Blur's Day in the subject line and just write a short little note wishing somebody a happy birthday. Toby says, wishing the happiest of Blur's Days to my BFF and the other king of Park Hill, Corbin. So I'm wondering, is Toby, are they co-kings, Toby and Corbin?
And do they know about the No Kings protest?
And do they know about that? And how do they feel? Corb simply rules because he is the funniest, cleverest, and most outstanding human.
Nice.
Huh. That's interesting. I thought I was. I guess I'm second to Corb. He also brought Hannah and Oliver into my life, and I love them so damn much I can't even handle it. Happy Blur's Day, Corbin.
Cute.
Hey, speaking of Corbin, Robin in Denver wants to shout out as well. Happy of Blur's Days to my pal Corbin in Denver. You're the nicest.
Whoa.
So now we have nicest to add to the funniest, cleverest, and most outstanding.
Right.
Most liberal back-in Parker I know. Cheers from Robin. From what I've learned from reading the email, we have a lot of liberal back-in Parkers in our audience. Joe in Winter
That's,
Springs.
Andrew, become the amount of like DMs that I'm getting on Instagram about back-in parking, and people either for it or again it. You'd be shocked.
Yeah. Out of everything that you've ever said,
Definitely my brand now.
I really wish I could separate myself more from it. Joe in Winter Springs, Florida says, that's interesting. Winter Springs, Florida. It's sort of like, you think of Florida, you think of sunshine, but now you got me thinking
Right,
of
it'd be like
Winter
the
Springs.
Sunshine Coast, Nova Scotia.
Exactly. Joe says, happy Blur's Day to my 11, Kim. You're the best person I know, and I'm so fortunate to share a life with you. You're a source of love and inspiration for me and our 5, Claire. We're so proud of you for always fighting the good fight. Never forget how much you are loved.
Aw, that's cute.
That's wonderful. Happy Blur's Day, Kim, and good advice to everybody. Never forget how much you're loved. Leslie says, I want to say a happy Blur's Day to myself. It's a big one for me, 60, and I can only think of a few things that would make it more special than a Blur's Day shout-out from my favorite co-bros. That's us. Happy Blur's Day, Leslie. What? Ooh, you had a failure to launch there or something.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be... This is what it sounds like. It looks like a picture of a hairdryer, but that's not what it is. I think it's supposed to be like a fanfare, but that's all it does.
I kind of like it.
We got this one. The whistle is really warbling now.
Ooh, I like that. That's pretty good. All right, let's see here. Leslie does say that I've met you in Denver, Friendship, Minneapolis, and Seattle. Also, P. Fletch and Stu. And TBTL has been part of my life since the radio days. So basically, the longest relationship I've ever had. Leslie also says, while I'm at it, happy Blur's Day to my birthday twin, Emily, a fellow Minnesotan. Happy Blur's Day, Leslie, and happy Blur's Day to Emily. Chris says, let's see here. Yeah, this is Chris, our friend over at Tacoma Little Theater down there in Tacoma.
Oh, yeah.
Chris says, happy birthday to my 11, Mike. You let me drag you to all the live shows, and I know that you would never admit it. You're probably closer to a 10 than you think. If I stop listening at 2.5 speed, or I'm sorry, if I stop listening at 2 times speed, will you listen more with me? Interesting.
I think it sounds like Mike might be...
oh my God! He admitted it!
Might be more of a listener than he'd like to let on.
That's right. Welcome, Mike, and happy Blur's Day.
I'm with you, though, by the way, Mike. I don't like the 2.5 speed either. I'm not telling Chris how to live his life, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes I'll bump, my phone when I'm listening to whatever, and it goes even just to 1.5. And I know that for some people, that doesn't negatively impact their experience, and it helps them get through the many hours of this. So, hey, do your thing. But for me personally, it's got to be the regular speed.
Well, I hate to be this guy, but this is how I'm going to combat it. I'm going to talk slower so that when you listen at high speed, it sounds normal. Okay, I can't keep that up. This is Ezra.
I was just going to see I was really curious to see how long you could stay in that space.
I felt like I could feel you getting mad over there.
No, I wasn't getting mad. I was like, we'll see. I was like, what's the over-under on this, DraftKings? A minute?
I got this note. It says, this is Ezra and Iris. We are our mom's fives, and tomorrow is her Golden Blurs Day. Here's our message. So I think this came in probably yesterday. That's why. So today is the Golden Blurs Day. Here's our message. Hi, Mama. I hope your birthday is going wonderfully swell. You've made it a great year for all of us so far. And with you, we know that the rest of the year will be TBTL, too beautiful to live. Love, Ezra and Iris.
Cute.
That's awesome. Thanks, guys. Happy Blurs Day to your mama. This message says, hey, Step, my TBTL progenitor. I just want to wish you a happy Golden Blurs Day as that odometer, that is life, turns over one more time. That's from listener Alan to Step. More Golden Blurs Days in the news. Marshall in Amsterdam says, I want to wish my girlfriend Louisa a very happy Golden Blurs Day. She's enjoying sunshine and carnival in her hometown of Rio de Janeiro, while I'm here freezing in Amsterdam. Ugh, you should be in Winter Springs, Florida. I'm so excited for you this year, finishing your PhD and becoming a doctor, ! And also finally getting permanent residency in the EU. You just need to pass that pesky Dutch language exam, but I know you can do it.
My plan was to move to the Netherlands, but I didn't know there was a Dutch language exam.
I feel like Dutch is a tough one. Right?
It looks so hard when you see it written. And again, I've been to the Netherlands. Everybody speaks perfect English, which is incredible. But yeah, when you see Dutch written, it ain't like Spanish or Italian or something where you can kind of piece it together. It is very, very different looking than what we're writing.
Are there similarities between Dutch and French? Am I right about that? Or no, not really?
Maybe. I mean, look, I am so bad at this kind of stuff anyway. I don't want to say anything that causes someone to throw their phone. But like, it seems almost like it's got a little German going.
Yeah, I'm totally off on that. You're right. It's not French.
I can't literally, I pride myself, Andrew, in being able to say like a word or phrase from a lot of places, and it's great, by the way, when you're with me and I meet someone from a place, because I can say one thing to them and they love it. They're like, wow, I feel like a bridge has been built. I don't got one thing.
Then after
Dutch.
That, you're just destroying the bridge.
Well, I mean, that's honestly, you should interview the people who I've built the bridge with. I think they enjoy it very much.
No, I'm just saying, I thought you were
Vidania.
saying that, like, at first you build a bridge by knowing a word, but then they want to continue the conversation and you have no more words and the bridge collapses, is what I thought you were saying.
It's as I'm getting out of the Uber and they're looking at me kind of confused, like, oh, yeah, Das Vidania. Yes, I am from Russia originally. Right, but that is a thing they say there.
Save it for the end, though, because then you can get out of there. I like that. I like that. Yeah. By the way, I was looking up, is any similarities between French and Dutch, and the answer is clearly no. But not far down the list of questions is a Quora question. Do the French like the Dutch? Which I think is very interesting.
What are they saying?
They say, the AI overview basically says that they don't seem to have a clear-cut opinion about the Dutch one way or the other.
Andrew, according to AI, Dutch is a West Germanic. Okay, so I was saying kind of German. Originated around the 5th century CE from Low Franconian, a dialect spoken by the Salian Franks. So when you see Franconian, it feels a little French. Maybe some kind of original mother tongue type of thing.
Maybe if French and German had a baby. It would be Dutch. I don't know. I think that
we're never going to pass the citizenship test this way.
This is it. This is the test. All right, here we go. You ready? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm ready. I'm just making sure you're ready. Rebecca in Philly says, Happy Golden Blurs Day to myself. So many Golden Blurs Days today. I'm impressed. Rebecca says, here's hoping 43 is all 360 spins and slam dunk pointers. At the very least, things are going to start happening to me now.
To be 43.
Yeah.
That the world is just at your feet.
Do you remember the time? I don't think you do. This was something that me and Genevieve, it slipped into our vernacular. It was a fleeting moment at the Sasquatch Music Festival when we were there with you, a bunch of other people that we knew, and Sean DeTore was there, Japan's #1 mixer.
Yeah.
And there was some kind of crusty dude, I believe, who was like kind of coming over to our little camp area, and he had a dog on a rope. Like instead of a leash.
Yes.
I don't even remember what happened or if there was any aggro-ness between folks. All I remember is I was not super interested in chatting with him, but he seemed to be, like the group absorbed him in some way or whatever. But then he was like leaving and walking away or something, and he just said, I got the world on a string. And without missing a beat, Sean DeTore said, and a dog on a rope. And it made
that
me
was
laugh
one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
Bagel, 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 google.
I think about it to this day.
You do.
And a dog on a rope.
You remember that joke. It was so
I remember that specific
good.
moment.
It was so just like he didn't miss a beat. I'm so glad you remember that, because that's one of those small fleeting things in life. But Genevieve and I talk about.
I know.
And
I know Genevieve is particularly a fan because
Yes.
I've heard her say it in the subsequent years.
It pops up. All right, last one here. This is from our pal Summer, who says, I want to wish a very happy birthday to my mom, who is 84, going on 11, as in a TBTL 11. Nice indeed. She just blew out her birthday candles, and a Blur's Day shout-out would absolutely make her day. Mom, I love you to the edge of the observable universe and back, and I'm so glad.
This is our friend Summer, who's the astrophysicist.
Of course, yes. And I believe Summer and her mom had a big cross-country move, or a big significant move recently. And Summer says, I'm so glad we get to spend every day, the good ones and the hard ones, together. Let's keep doing nothing and see what happens. Summer, do you know what magic just happened? This has never happened before. The music faded out exactly as I finished reading your sentence. I didn't fade it out.
Growing up,
The music ended. That was beautiful. What are you playing over there?
I don't even know. Just my computer just started firing something, and I can't even get to the screen of where it is. And I just muted my computer.
Do you know?
I thought that was a nice end too to the segment. Was a random blip of sound from somewhere in the bowels of my computer.
We had this is maybe last week or something. Genevieve and I were recording our podcast. That's right. It was the Monday after the Super Bowl, so we're recording a very long edition of our podcast.
Although I hear less long this year than
exactly
some previous time.
Did I already say that? Yeah, was not 4.5 hours this time. It was only it was a mere 3 hours. We left a lot on the table, as you can imagine. But we knew our contractor Adrian was going to be coming over sometime while we were recording, which is fine. We just left the door unlocked for him, and we heard him come in during the recording, and we didn't say hello or anything. We just kept on going, and then eventually he left. And then we kept going, and then eventually we were done with the podcast. And we came out of the podcasting room, this very studio here, and Genevieve's desk is set up in the basement in an area that doesn't have, she doesn't have her own kind of walls or door like I do. She's just got a desk set up here in the basement. And her computer, which it looks to be asleep, is blasting through the tinny laptop speaker.
Oh, no.
Some audio of somebody going on and on about Christianity and religion or something like that. And we have no idea why. Now, Genevieve was probably doing she probably had 1 million tabs open and a lot of YouTube tabs open for show prep before she came in here. But we can't figure out how this thing would have been fired because her computer was asleep, and it doesn't take too long for it to go to sleep. And we'd been in here for a long time. We're like, how long has this thing been droning on and on and on about Christianity? Just one male voice talking. We couldn't hear what it was, and she stops it. And then we're like, that's really weird. and we're like, God, I wonder if Adrian heard that. Does he think we're crazy? Was he using your computer for something and bumped it? That seemed very unlikely. Again, the computer
Is this his favorite show? And he just
is this
was
his favorite
playing
show?
it?
Like, what's going on? And then that was that night, and then we forgot about it. And then maybe, I don't know if it was the next day or the next Monday or something, the next time we're talking to Adrian, he's like, so are you guys very religious? Which is an interesting question to ask somebody. But I think you could probably tell by this point that we don't come off as the super religious kind, right? Remember, an earlier question was, do you guys smoke a lot of pot in this basement? They're like, yes, sir, we do.
Oh, I don't know if you had mentioned that before, or I didn't remember.
Sure, yeah. You mean, did you assume that we would like go outside or something if we're going to?
No, I just didn't know that he had asked you that.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
question.
that he asked it. Yeah. So it was just sort of like, I don't know. I'm sure, like, you know, we've been working with him for a while now. We joke around with him. We know each other's vibes. I think he was surprised to come in and just hear some random like podcasty thing going on and on and on about religion from what seemed to be a religious standpoint. And we're like, no, we have no idea what that was. He's like, I don't know. He's like, I recognize the voice because I've heard that same voice on podcasts that my son listens to about Machiavelli or something like that. What? I lost the thread at that point. I was like, I don't know what happened. I'm still curious how this computer just started randomly playing some audio that Genevieve would never have dialed up.
This is a weird hazard of the modern digital age, but sometimes I'll be doing something and I've got my phone going and either I'm watching something that I want to be watching, or maybe it's TikTok or who knows, but then I'm like in the middle of something, I'm somewhere else in the room, I'm up on a little ladder or whatever, and it's either the same clip is just repeating a million times, or it starts, going down some sort of playlist rabbit hole and then it's like weird ads for things that you don't care about, and you can end up with something happening on the phone, but you're too physically far away from it to go change it, or you're too engrossed in what you're doing. What I've had, the real version of this for me is mostly TikTok related. I'm like looking at a TikTok, but then I go do something else, and it's just whatever that TikTok is. Let's say it's 43 seconds. I'll end up listening to it 15 times. Because the phone is across the room from me. I'm engrossed enough in something else that I'm not going back to the phone, but I'm still hearing it.
Yeah, I know
on
exactly
this crazy
what you're
loop.
about. I know exactly what you're talking. And sometimes I want to listen to it twice. Maybe you've sent me something like, hey, maybe there's a good show tape or something, and then I'll listen to it, and then I want to listen to it again, maybe without the visuals and see how it works. But then you set it down, and then you're right, you just walk away a little bit, and then you're like, oh, I can't reach that thing, and it's still just going, and then you're like going insane. You're like, I will never use this tape because it's making me angry. I'm scrolling, and I'm trying to waste some time here because I'm trying to bide my time. I came across something the other day that was the funniest video I've maybe ever seen. I was going to bed, and this came across my blue sky, and I'm scrolling so fast right now, hoping I can find this thing. And somebody said, well, this is, if anybody wants to know the importance of editing, this video will explain it to you. And I can't find it.
I watched this.
Do you know the one where
you sent it to me?
Did I?
Or did I just
think
watch it? Did I just see it on Blue Sky? Maybe
I might have retweeted
saw you
it.
referencing it on Blue Sky.
Okay, so at least you watched it, because I don't think that I can. That's right. I retweeted it, so maybe you were just seeing it because we follow each other, or whatever we call it. I don't say skeet. Anyway, and it's just like, it's one of those videos where, a woman who's, I don't know, maybe our age, maybe a little bit older, is putting like a mint into a 2 liter of Coke, and it's going to explode all over her. It's like a Mentos, and she's
not our age. She's older than us.
Yeah, she's maybe 10, 20 years older than us.
Yes.
And and it would just usually be a funny video because a woman would say, well, last time I tried this, I did something a little bit wrong, but I got a different kind of Coke this time, or something along the lines of that.
She seems suspicious that it's going to actually create a big explosion.
A big explosion, like another, like kind of a homemade volcano or whatever. And so, but the thing is, whoever made this video that I watched was making a parody of some sort of video game, I guess, which will sort of flash forward.
I didn't know that subtext.
And it kind of doesn't matter. But this person kept almost like the crazy edits in Bonheur. It was just like they would take split-second flash forwards of her after the thing explodes in her face, as it kept on like foreshadowing what's about to happen. And then when it actually happens, I honestly can't remember the last time I laughed that hard by myself. The first time I saw that it came across my Blue Sky, I was going to bed.
Do you smoke a lot of weed in that basement?
I was up in my bedroom.
I'm kidding.
I believe this was a sober brain, although who knows.
Yes.
But I open this thing up, I'm going to bed, and I watch it. I can't get enough of it. I just keep hitting play. The whole thing is maybe 30 seconds long tops.
Yeah.
And Genevieve's downstairs. I think she might have fallen asleep on a couch somewhere or something. I am clutching my stomach on the edge of my bed, laughing so hard and laughing in that uncontrollable way.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't laughed that hard like since I was a kid, and I'd stayed up all night with my friend, and we no longer had any ability to contain it ourselves.
Yes.
We were just laughing and crying. Only I'm up in my bedroom, and I just keep watching it over and over and over again. So I don't know.
It's
Follow
very
me
funny.
on Blue Sky if you're looking for.
I wouldn't say. How do I put this? I was unsure what I was going to see because, again, your post on Blue Sky was something like,
I think I'm going
am I
insane
crazy or is this
something.
the funniest thing I've ever? It was something where you were kind of like, I don't know if this is just me. Kind of deal.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't know if it is just Andrew. And so then I'm watching it, and then it's like there's something about the visual comedy of how it's edited and the kind of brute force of the imagery.
Yes.
Kind of like. And the just kind of like the weird, like we know how the story goes. She doesn't think it's going to explode in her face, and then it does. But there's something about jumping right to that part and then going to the kind of setup, and then like it's a very interesting visual style, but it's like super duper funny and funnier than if it was just, I don't know if this is going to work. I'm putting the things in now. It's blowing up on me. It's like there's something about the way that the joke is repeated and previewed in a way that just like really, really adds to the humor.
And because she makes a gurgle sound at one point when it blows up in her face. So now that we've set that up like that, I will play the audio of this.
I'm curious how it works as audio.
I'll play it at the
I've
very
only
end of
seen
the
it.
show after we sock
the
out
little
of
Easter
here.
egg.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right.
Well, I guess that's our cue then to wrap things on up on this Thursday. Hey, hopefully I'll see some of y'all down at Livewire tonight. For the rest of you, we'll be right back here tomorrow with more Imaginary Radio, so please do stop on by for that. In the meantime, everybody have a great Thursday. Take care of yourselves, and please remember, no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
You know, I found out the hard way the last time that I tried this.
Oh, not again!
And I haven't seen this done with any other sodas before. And I just don't think it's going to be as crazy.
Not again!
Power out.